All right. Time to put the AI in dynamic or something like that. Welcome to the show. Welcome to You Can't Do That on Salesforce. I'm your friendly neighborhood Tom. Shorter version today, shorter edition, earlier edition. Got some. 'Tis the season for yard work and home improvement, and I'm actually hanging some. I guess don't call them Christmas lights, call them architectural lighting. I got some Govies, so I actually hung half of them last year, and I would really love to get them up. The other half of them up this year. But I had to rent a lift to the front of my house is tall, and I'm afraid, and I'm old, and I don't want to fall down off a ladder and not be able to, function anymore. So I say all that because that's why we're starting a little early, and we're ending a little early today. So, let's let us begin. I mentioned on YouTube, or not YouTube, LinkedIn. So what are we going to do today? We're going to continue with our dynamic page layout fun. We did some persona-based layouts last week as I navigate to some of the things that we've been up to. So I would like to align these personae, if you're of the medieval Latin persuasion, I guess. Anyway, align these persona records, which are driving this whole thing, to users in the system, so that we can, kind of say, well, my user, for example, is a sales manager. And then maybe we also think in terms of these personas are relevant for these types of objects, because I could be Tom the sales manager. I could be Tom the service. So I could be Tom the services manager. I could be Tom in a small company. Maybe you got a whole bunch of different hats that you're wearing. So maybe we want to have these personas align not only to a user but also to a object that they're relevant for, or objects that they're relevant for. So I'm piling on a whole bunch of requirements here for ourselves, but that's one thing I'd like to explore today. There were a couple of other things that I think I mentioned. I wrote up my requirements as a LinkedIn post. Go figure. Let's see here. Where were we? What else were we going to do today? Here we go. Collecting feedback and sentiment, maybe. I'd love to be able to say, ask the user, hey, how'd I do as the robot? How did I do? Making these providing these recommended fields. I suppose we ought to make these fields editable too. So just coming out and observing them is maybe not enough. I kind of like the why this field stuff. This seems like it'd be super helpful for, especially like a new employee. But I was also thinking, is there more that we could do with the why this field, or kind of, maybe an amalgamation of, hey, heads up, this is happening. I don't know if we have enough data for that right now, but either way, let's do some nerd work. Maybe declunkifying the UI a little bit, and maybe declunkifying at this point is at least making these editable, right? A UX expert I am not, but there's probably some cleanup to do here. The one other thing, sure, there's more than one other thing, but another thing, you can see this takes a hot second to load, and I don't think any Salesforce user would love to wait around every time they load a page for this to render. So maybe we want to look at some caching situation for this, and allow this to take the best guess, give people a button to say try again, and we go from there. Shouldn't be too bad because we get this data back and we can throw it somewhere and have the maybe we use the persona objects actually to to store the cache for those. One second here. Let's see. Oops. Just gotta change some settings on my computer here. All right. Let's see. Where shall we start? Let's well, we're in our org, so let's take a look at this persona object again. Let's look at the records specifically too. So not a ton here. We've got a name, a description, and responsibilities. These get passed over to Prompt Builder to make an LLM call, give it some context. So for me to, well, I guess the first things first, I feel like we could make this very simple. We add a, we could just add a text field, I think, that would just be a comma separated list of objects that this this persona should react to. So why don't we start there? And we're going to do as much of our work through Claude as we possibly can. Back over here. Let's go ahead and wrap up our current sprint too, because I think we did what we set out to do there. Maybe close this. Those look all resolved. All right, let's close out the current sprint. While that's closing, I'm just going to fire up a document or a text file so we can collect some thoughts here. We're going to add a objects field to persona object. Let's just make it a text field 255. This field will store API names of Salesforce objects that the persona will react to. Make sure that field is add new objects field to, there's a permission set we've got here. Persona admin permission set. With view and edit. Oops, what else do we need to do? Add to the persona page layout. What would be cool is if I had I could make a Claude command that is, you know, Salesforce add field, so I could do what I just did there, right? I could probably pass it a couple of parameters of the object I want it to be added to and the name of the field, give it instructions to say, put it on this object, put it on this page layout, put it on this, put in this permission set, and have it just go do all that stuff. Maybe have it write the help text for the. Let's do that. Let's have it write help text and description. Based on this purpose. All right. So that'll give us the field, and then we'll have it populate all the existing existing personas with opportunity. In objects field. All right, and then we're going to want it to we're going to need I feel like we're going to need a junction between users and personas in case I want to assign multiple personas to users. So let's create a user persona object that that is a junction between user and persona. Do we need anything else on that object? Maybe I don't think we need that for now. We'll populate one user persona record with user equals user and persona equals sales manager. So we'll have one of those set up. We want to add user persona object to the permission set. Modify all records, view, edit all fields, which shouldn't, if that matters. I guess we should make these should be a detail in master detail for user and persona, because these shouldn't exist if we don't have either of the other records. And then let's see, replace pick list in our component, which is opportunity field chooser. With logic that identifies identifies personas related to the running user, and executes the prompt call out with the call it in the same manner as if the persona was selected. All right, not bad. Those look like some somewhat requirementy requirements. We'll go with those. Oh, Flows Battle. Thank you. I will turn up. I'm cranking it up here. Let me know if that's any better. I have other ways of of making it sound better, but there you go. All right, perfect. Thanks. I was peeking in the yellow here, so I didn't want to overdo it, but thank you for the feedback. All right, so we've got our notes for our new sprint. So let's fire up a new sprint. Let's call this field chooser enhancements. Put those in there. I just want to check the name of my old sprint. That was the initial implementation. So we'll drop this in there, and we'll let that cook a little bit. Paul, you're a brave soul. You've revealed yourself to the to the Streamverse. Totally not stalking you on LinkedIn right now. Thanks for stopping by. I hope this is, if not insightful, entertaining. If not entertaining, you can walk. I'll share some beard grooming. That usually ends up being half of the show anyway. All right. So my Claude commands are doing my bidding. We're setting up a new sprint with these features and enhancements here. This takes a second, but we go a little slower to go a little faster. There we go. All right, Claude's done. What did Claude have to say? We drafted a sprint. We've got our notes file. We're gonna review that in a second. Primary objectives, key tasks. Let's take a look at the notes file it generated for us. Usually in this process, I don't have much to do in the notes file, but I'm going to ask it to plan the sprint. So it's going to give me some more. This is where it interrogates me, asks me some questions about what we want. Does a pretty good job locating or figuring out questions to ask. Yeah, there's not a lot of Salesforce engineering going on in Twitch. I do like watching some other folks do other programming stuff. Total nerd stuff, right? What did you do last Friday night? Oh, I watched some people programming on Twitch. It's like nerd ASMR, I guess. I'm glad I'm not alone. You could set up a viewing party. I don't really know anybody out there, even by name. I just sort of, surf and find whoever's online at the time. All right, how we doing, Claude? Claude's writing up the plan based on the notes, and then it's going to give me some questions to respond to. So I've been running this this project in this manner the whole time. I haven't written a line of code. I reviewed a little code because Claude got lost a little bit, but I've just been, I've been kind of more like product owner rather than engineer for this whole thing. PvP flow building, yeah. I think what I've in previous manifestations of the show, let's see, way back we built Monopoly with Flow, we built Uno with Flow. They're not all complete, but I might dust some of those off and try to apply this like new model. I've done a little bit of Claude managed Flow development, but I'd really like to push it a little bit harder. Plus, with what we got Vibey coming out for Salesforce. I don't have access to that yet. I kind of want to do like a Claude Codex Vibey showdown. Give them all the same requirements, 3 different Scratch orgs, set them loose, and see who wins. Although I know nothing about the access to Vibey. If I kind of hate that name, I admit it. Don't want to bite the hand that feeds, but sure, we'll call it Vibey, I guess. All right, we've got, let's see, Claude playing the sprint. So it has some questions for me. Let's go check out our questions file. Should the system support users having multiple personas? My response is yes. Oops. Yes. It's multiple personas. This is the intent of the junction object. Let's have, so it is asking me a fair question, like how does it decide if which one wins? Need to define priority mechanism. That's fine. We'll probably have a priority field. Maybe that's something we need on those user personas. But that's probably for we'll get it working and then we'll get it fancy. Use the first record. If there are multiple for now. Let's see. No persona scenario. Fair question. What if somebody isn't assigned? My response is going to be don't render the component, despite what it wants to do. I think that's going to be the safer situation, because right now we still have the record, the page layout below it. If you were to fully roll something like this out, first of all, it needs a ton more functionality, but you would have all your users configured with it, hopefully. Oh, good deal. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Paul. I gotta check out some details on Architect Dream, and maybe I'll see you in person sometime. Object field format. How should multiple objects be stored? We're just going to do comma delimited. Oh, we'll do. Let me grab you right here. Consider yourself followed. Thanks, Paul. User lookup implementation. Should we use user lookup or store user? We should use a lookup. Interesting question. Not really relevant. Maybe I can teach it a little bit here. Nah. I was going to say we should never do that, but who should be able to create, edit user persona mappings? The correct answer is yes. Option 2. I appreciate that question, right? It gave us a second to pause and say, does this need to be anywhere else? Our app is, our org is super simple, so our app is super simple, but there could absolutely be, I'm doing everything also as like an admin in this org, but if you were to roll something like this out to a typical audience, you're going to have some different layers of assignment. Maybe people are opting in to personas. Maybe people are being told what their personas are. So you might have like a persona user, persona viewer, and then depending on how your org operates, you would give a different assignment depending on your preference. I could see both scenarios. You know, it's on one hand, it's nice to have the flexibility for users to pick. On the other hand, you know, you might want to just tell them what to see, even in spite of the dynamic nature of all of this. Component visibility. Should the component show when no personas matched? We answered this before, but we will agree again. Persona response equals option 2. Hide it. All right. Any additional considerations? Data migration. No manual assignment needed for accuracy. Confirmed. Do we need ability to revert to manual selection? Let's say this, just like hide hide the pick list for now. I suppose. All right, so we could not if we could keep the pick list around. Never mind. I was gonna say if we keep the pick list around, we could show that to users that don't have a persona assigned. But I really just want to see the persona assignment happen. Should we cache user persona relationships? And it's asking if we should use the Lightning platform cache. My thought is we would put that. That was the other field on the user persona that could be useful. Although, okay, so that would imply. Let's think about this. I'm a sales manager. I want to apply the sales manager persona to this user for these two objects, account and opportunity. But do I actually need 2 user persona records if I want to store the cache there? And I also wonder, how is the cache going to know what it's for? Because the fields for the account would be very different they'd be completely different than the fields for the opportunity. But let's just say no caching for now. I just want to see how all this stuff moves around. Audit requirements. Do we need to track who assigns personas to users? I don't think we. No field history needed for now. I think these fields would change so infrequently that just seeing the last modified would let us know. Also, you either have a record or you don't, unless we do some inactive management, which maybe we want to do, but we would implement more of this for that reason. Okay, those are my responses. Let me let Claude know that we responded as such. Responded to the questions. So now Claude's going to take my question responses, review against the plan again, and update the plan, and then we'll be, unless it has more questions, it might have more questions, but we'll be ready for the build after that. Future enhancements, caching strategy, manual override. Thank you. We're not gonna. We will need to follow. We will probably do an enhancement within this sprint for the caching because I'm sure it's going to get miserable fast. But I do want to consider that the that the cache needs to be user and object specific. So we'll talk about that with Claude later. Claude's ready to work. All right, that's all to get started. I'm gonna step away for 1 minute. I just heard the doorbell, so let me go see what's going on there. Don't you just love it when you come back to your desk and Claude's ready to begin implementation? Let us begin. My build command doesn't actually start the build. It tells Claude to get ready for the build, but I still want to have the final say. Now, if this was my day job, I'd have 2 or 3 more of these going on at once. The mental thrashing has been interesting with working with AI mediated code builders in this way. It's I'm definitely guilty of putting a bug in for a project that I have open on a different screen, because you just kind of get, can get lost in it. But that's kind of feels like what the job's turning into a little bit more architecture, more product owner, more business analyst sort of tasks, more QA too. We'll obviously do some debugging on this. I don't have a lot of commands that handle the debugging or QA side of the world yet. That's something I keep wanting to do, just haven't yet. All right, so Claude's doing stuff. We're getting a new field. Create a page layout for the user persona. I'm going to deploy these changes before proceeding with data. Drink from my guinea pig bottle, my gerbil hydration unit. Uh-oh. I need to fix several issues. Let's see. What do we got going on here? Needs to specify the delete constraint for a required lookup. One thing that will be interesting with Vibe, or, oh, again, I'm probably getting the name wrong, with Salesforce, it obviously will have more context of Salesforce. So there have been instances where Claude kind of just can't get the metadata property right, despite its attempts. I've had to step in there a few times and say, hey, the object is actually called this instead of that. So we do get a little off the beaten path sometimes, and that could be happening now with what we're seeing here. So we're gonna let can't restrict delete on user lookup. So I think it's having a little bit of a time, I think, with our master detail expectations for the layout, or I'm sorry, for the object. Okay, we're gonna just do the objects. Let's see how it does here. At least it's making a plan to find its way through this. Okay, we still have an error. Doesn't have an owner ID, right? So let's remove that. Claude's just interacting with the Salesforce CLI in all these cases. All right, cool. Just happy about that. Now we're going to try the permission set. Still sad about that. Yep, don't need... Okay. Now, one thing I forgot here is I forgot to give it the sharing rules for the... well, actually, it doesn't matter. No, we don't need to give it sharing rules for the user persona object because it's going to inherit from the other two, from the user and the persona. So that shouldn't matter. Oops. It would probably be good to have also a command for updating fields, like I'm about to here. I find that Claude's going to do a for loop on this, which is fine. But I have also found that Claude will do the for loop for a lot of data when I think the best move would be to generate a script or even just generate an import file for that, so it runs a little. Really, an import file would be better because then it can be bulkified into the org. But this is fine. We'll run this 3 times. This I think is actually going to change anyway if we. Well, let's say this. I think the persona, those objects on the persona could dictate the options for the user persona. So I could say, hey, I want to apply the sales manager persona to the account and the opportunity. Let's say we had it configured that way, and maybe we'll update it to reflect that. Having those 2 records gives me a place to put the cache for for each of the respective objects. I could see being able to maybe capture sentiment, feedback on that user persona. So I think it's going to be a more valuable object, but I also think it has to be per user, per persona, per object to get the fidelity that we would need. They'll probably also solve some other issues of, hey, which persona wins. It can be much more explicit. If I'm on the account and I have a persona, then it's gonna work with that. How will that work with a service manager meets sales manager if it's assigned to both of the accounts? Honestly, I think that could be interesting to see what it comes back with, and we could actually update our instructions to say, either combine the two or present a flavor of each. Maybe almost do like a merge, right? Like these fields are important to a sales manager. These fields are important to a services manager. These fields are important to whatever you are. I don't need to understand what kind of user you are coming in as. I just understand that you're a user coming in, and I can figure that out. Maybe let the user say, no, I'm actually in sales mode, or I'm in services mode right now. So sort of, picking a persona from the options that they're assigned in that moment. Anyway, Claude's moved on. Claude's now updating the component. Claude's definitely faster than me, I'll say that. Even if it has to take a couple of swings at the code. All right, components deployed. So there's some logic in the commands to do some, Git management. I'm really not doing anything super fancy there, but it's all local. I think we don't have a remote. Oh, it's okay. So here's the readout of what it did. I think it's going to use this for the. No, these are just the notes it's going to write. So yeah, sure. Use that. So this is make a little bit of an interpretation here. It's going to go update the notes based on what was just done, which is kind of the raw notes file. But that's okay. Let's let it play. I need to add a command add to the close sprint command that a summary should be written for the sprint, and then that should be added to like a README at the root. But that's okay. All right, so then last thing I'm going to do, not last thing, we're going to have it write us a walkthrough. So those instructions are, hey, give me some more detail. Act as if I'm, basically testing this. Tell me where things are. Tell me how things work. It actually does some very simple like UI, ASCII-based UIs in the file, which I think is cute. I don't know if it's super useful, but it's adorable. In the meantime, I'm sure I can kind of go poke at this a little bit. Let's see if we can find our, I guess I didn't tell it to make a tab for the personas. Let's see if it added the persona for my user to the sales manager. And did it update? It did not update. Let's run a quick query in the dev console and see what we've got in here. We've got one. Let's go find it. Persona sales manager, user. I think the issue here is we just don't have the related list in the page. So we can, we'll ask it to update that. Walkthrough is complete. Claude close out a few fields here. So I'm gonna collect some bugs and enhancements as we go through this. I wouldn't say it's a bug, but let's enhance this by let's add user personas related list to persona page layout. I have commands for enhancements and bugs to track them, but they're very like one-off. So we'll see if I can pass a bunch of these to Claude and have it go do the work in mass. In other projects, I've just done them one at a time, but I think we can go a little faster. All right, so we want to do that. I'm going to write down some notes about these other enhancements. We want to add object to user persona. To indicate what object the persona should evaluate on, and then we would want to create. We'll add a cache field. It's probably a long. I'm just going to say long text 32,000. So in that respect, the current user would need edit rights to the cache field. But again, we're just going to operate in admin mode here for now as we get this up and running. Add cache field long text 32 to store the results from the user and object, record object are matched. We probably want to have like probably some kind of UI eventually for assigning personas and objects to users, but I don't think we have to go there right now. Let's just go see what this is doing. All right, so it's cooking, I assume, with my sales manager persona, knowing that it's me. There we go. Groovy. So that part's working. Let's look at the walkthrough file and see if there's anything else we need to do here. Persona management, user persona. Do we have a user persona tab? I didn't ask it to make one, and I don't see one. I don't know if we're going to need that. Actually, it's probably good to have one, so let's add a tab for it. Just so we can see all of our data in one place for now. All right. So we're going to add the field, the related list. We're going to add the object, an object field to the user persona to indicate what object it should evaluate on. Add the cache field to store response back from the LLM. Look for the cache value when the user and object are matched in the component. If no cache is present, or the cache data is invalid, request new recommendations from LLM. I think that's good. That's a good round of enhancements. Let's see how these get handled. I'm going to ask it to call SpecOS sprint enhancement command on each of the items below and execute and perform the updates. And then I'm going to actually bring up the command itself. So maybe what we actually want to do is say here. So this is the command to run an enhancement. Creates an enhancement entry. I could say creates one or more new enhancements in the current field. Use this when you discover opportunities for improvements. The command will commit any work, create the enhancement, entry ease, set to in progress, arguments. We'll say star, enhancement, description, repeated 1+ times 1 per line. A brief description. Oops. Of multiple enhancements, 1 per line. Now, I don't know if I update this, if it's going to just take effect right now. Let's find out. Before I do that, I want to talk to Claude a second and say, hey, how are you doing this session? You're doing good, Claude. I just updated. Now, with each, actually, we don't have one for, sorry, we don't have a, so in some cases, the Claude command has a matching command in SpecOS, which are my specific commands. It's like a JavaScript file that does some, file processing, but we don't have that here. Understand. Let's see. Is it clear that I may provide you a single enhancement or multiple enhancements, 1 per line? Let's see if it understands what I did. And then I'll ask it if the command needs to be written any differently. Formatting could be clearer. Okay. Yes. Update that command. Little meta conversation with Claude on the commands that I want it to run, but hey, let's use it wherever we can. So hopefully this will make it easier to pass in multiple enhancements. I'm going to let it make these changes throughout the session. Okay. It also told me I don't need to worry about special special structure. So let's try it. Let's see if it obliges. Okay, it's talking entries, so that's good news. Plural. It sees plural. It'll be interesting to see how it works through these. I just realized it's giving me a warning about the context. I think I got an update for Claude, and I used to have compact set to auto. I don't know how to set it to auto again. And actually, instead of compacting, maybe we'll just clear, because we have everything. Hopefully Claude can pick up where he left off. He, she, it left off. I don't know the pronouns for Claude, but sometimes it gets less sloppy if we let Claude clear its mind. Compacting can do some funky stuff sometimes. It's like has selective memory, and that can be worse than just. I feel like asking Claude to compact is like asking it to work a second shift, so it gets tired and blurry like us humans would. Whereas if I tell it to clear, I let it go to sleep for the day and wake up the next morning fresh. All right, it seems to know what it's doing. So let's try this. Let's clear, and let's proceed with updates based on the documented enhancements. In the current sprint. Might need a little bit more nudging. I don't know if it would be smart enough to say, let me go find the current sprint and then go find the enhancements. That would come down to the Claude file itself, which is sort of like the master of all this stuff. So that might need a review to check that it's clear in there. I've been using this pattern lately, before I'll go write some commands somewhere, and then I'll ask Claude to review it to make sure Claude understands and gives me any direction that Claude needs to update it. So kind of like, I don't know if it's building in any accountability for Claude for me to say, you said you would do this. Anyway, we're cooking now. We're getting a related list on our persona for our user personas. We're going to add an object field to user persona. We're going to add that to the page layout. I didn't ask it to do that, but it's going to do it anyway. I'm happy about that. Probabilistic. That's a word I keep running into when it comes to AI. All things AI, not just development. It's doing what it's told, but it's adding a little flair to what it's doing also. Which is good, generally. It's going to give us a cache timestamp field, it looks like, for free. Didn't ask for that, but I think I see where it's going. Expiration for the cache. Why not use Salesforce Platform Cache? I don't know. Maybe let's do this. We'll implement this, and then we'll ask it to evaluate our current implementation and see if Salesforce Cache would be better. And then we'll let it work. We'll probably want it while I'm thinking about all this stuff. Jeez, let's write it down. Yeah. I might have a conversation with Claude about this one rather than just dropping in the enhancement, because evaluating is not going to turn into actionable work, and I really want my enhancements to be go do stuff. But still, we'll drop it in here. Let's see. We want to be able to, add a. Suggest, resuggest fields. Resuggest fields. What else could what I think we might want to do here? All right, all 5 enhancements have been successfully implemented. Let's go check these. Find our sales manager persona. Oh, related list is not displaying, but sometimes I think this can get cached. So let's try this. Okay, we don't have it there, so that one's still a bug, or that is a bug now. Object field to user persona. All right, we have it, but we don't have it on the page layout. Now the question is, was it not added to the layout, or was it not added to our permission set? We'll go check that out. We added the cache and cache timestamp, so those are also on the user persona, but I don't see those here. We may have implemented the checking. Create a user persona tab for visibility. I don't see that either. So, let's see. I'm gonna give feedback on each of these. Let's see. I'll drop some URLs in here too. Sometimes that helps. We can check the, let's just check this object a second. We'll make sure that the fields are here, but they're not displaying. Yeah, they're not even here. Maybe they're put on the wrong object. No, I don't see them anywhere. Nope, no cache field. Boy, I think Claude swinging a miss there. Let's see, is it in our metadata? Oh, that's the tab. So it generated the tab. Let's look at our objects here. Created the fields. We're just not seeing any of it. Did it actually deploy? Maybe it didn't deploy. Let's see. I'm going to get it. You're absolutely right. That's Claude's favorite. Are changes deployed? Okay. Well, there we go. Uh-oh. Caught its syntax error there. Maybe. Okay, it's having a struggle, so it's using it's using some describe information to find out what the relationship should be, which is interesting because I think it's going right back to what it had before. Maybe it didn't have the plural flavor. No. Okay, yeah. Take it slow, Claude. It's all right. You don't have to do everything in one big bang. I feel like, I don't know, having been around this platform for 1,000 years, I rarely does one big deployment ever work, for at least for net new functionality. For me, anyway. Temporarily move the related list. Yes, let's do that. All right, we're going to try that related list again. So it has done this before. I don't want to say it gives up, but it can't find it. It can't figure out how to put the related list on there. So what do we need to do? The user persona's related list on the persona layout couldn't be added due to metadata synchronization. Okay, if you say so. You can manually add it through setup, object manager, persona, boop, boop, boop. All 5 enhancements are now functional. Caching will improve performance. Let's see how we did. Yep, I have objects. Or I'm sorry, I have fields. I don't see them here. Well, I do have the object field here. Okay. What else did we create? So I think we're actually kind of broken right now because we have to communicate how to use that new object field. And I could probably just go in and add the related field, but I don't want to. I want Claude to do it. That's okay. Just lost in the metadata sauce. Here, I'll even pick a few fields for you. Here we go. All right, so those should be there now. Hooray. Okay. So we don't have an object on this one now, but let's add it. I'll make this the opportunity. I want to add, let's see, let's ask Claude to update. I have another command for resolving enhancements. Now that we have 5 pending enhancements, it'd be nice to resolve them in mass, just like we can create them in mass. I can close out my dev console. Comprehensive plan. Okay, let's do it. All right, so no argument, resolve existing. Specific number, resolve that one. All, resolve all of them. Well, let's try it out. The enhancements are resolved insofar as they're doing what we've said, and now I'd like to add more, do some more work here. So I think this next round, we're not going to do the cache right now. We need to update the chooser. We're going to locate the user persona record that matches to now locate the user persona record that matches user and object of current record. I think we might have time. I mean, it shouldn't be a huge lift to make. We've got this working for the opportunity right now. We don't have it working for any object, which is fine. I think we can get to that next step. All right. I'm going to add these 2 enhancements now. take a look at the enhancements file, which is actually called features, just to keep it confusing. We have a template for this. We actually have a template for the sprints, so it lays out all the files that are used and has instructions within them to describe how to do what Claude is doing. So it's going to add enhancement 6. It's now the current one being worked on. All right, so let's begin. Probably could update those commands to tell it to, begin work. So it looks like it's saying not a huge change because it's already using the object API name, but instead of getting that from the persona, it's going to get it from the user persona now. We have a little metadata or properties file that tells us tells Claude what we're doing. Basically sequencing fields, so it knows what enhancement is what and what bug is what. I don't think we need this anymore. We're going to update that component next to we'll have it added to the account next. Oops, what did we lose here? I'm still trying to do that page layout, but I realized it was already there. Kind of a brave move, because if it retrieved it, it potentially overwrote whatever changes it put into that file. I wonder if there's some explanation we want to give there. If there's a conflict, which can happen, right? There's a conflict. I think we generally probably want the org to win, but maybe rather than being too draconian about that, we say somehow go pull the metadata from the org, compare it to your metadata, and if it's not categorically newer in the org, then raise the conflict to the user, to me. Taking a second to do the deployment this time. Taking a long time. There we go. Back to life. Deployment was successful. All right. Let's go rerun the... So if we run this, we can go check the user persona record. We should see the... I might have to check that because it's not going to be on the record, is it? No, it won't be there, but let's do a quick query. Or you know what? Let's just add it to the... Let's just ask it to add those to the layout. Okay, got those fields now. Let's see what we did. Cool. All right. Stored its recommendations. So now if I refresh this again, it should be pretty quick. Yep, boom. All right, cool. And then I can resuggest. So that should wipe out the cache. Okay. Just realized it would be interesting to add the opportunity history to the context. Or add record history, right? Field tracking. All right, so we got our... What did we ask for? We asked for our cache content, our reset button. Okay, our resuggest, yep. All right, so we're good there. I'm going to resolve these, and then we'll get the... We're going to make this dynamic to all objects. All right. Looks like it kind of re-stepped through the other ones we had, but new enhancements. I cannot push enter. Oh, there it goes. I'm just going to check the status of Claude here. See how we're consuming our plan, our max plan. One thing I need to add is when enhancements are complete, update the walkthrough. Let's do that now, actually. I feel like this is, getting these commands, and I'm curious if Vibe Cody, whatever he has the same model that would allow you to generate these commands. I don't know even if Codex has commands yet, but to sort of be able to like macro stuff in your workflow, super handy. Having lots of little commands, lots of little jobs to be done. Certainly helpful. I actually wanted to do that a little differently. It looks like it's just going to blam them into the file. It's like, I also want you to check if the walkthrough itself needs to be modified, needs to be updated based on new or changed functionality provided by the enhancements. Let's see what it thinks about that. And I probably should not have auto-accepted those. There we go. I think I messed that up. See if it gets my drift here. Sorry. Let's see. Not quite getting it. Should add the I don't want it to even add the enhancements. I want it to... Let me rephrase it. So whenever an enhancement is resolved, just really analyze let's try that. We don't always understand each other. Automatically analyze and update the walkthrough file to keep it accurate after each enhancement. This ensures the walkthrough always reflects replace the current process section with the enhanced version. Intelligent walkthrough updates. Okay. Yes. Let's see if we got it. This is going to add some more work, but... And I think really you could probably get down to... Well, I need to add some summary. That looks better. I need to add a step in close sprint to write a summary of what was done. First, I would ask Claude to generate a summary template for me. Take a best guess at what it would recommend in that template file. And then I would ask Claude to write me or to update the sprint close command to generate that summary file referencing the template and do what I want it to do, which is go through all the record or all the data. I'm sorry, all the markdown files, produce a summary, because then I want the summary to roll continuously to the README file. Okay, let's see what we can do here. We're going to resolve all. Since these are conceptual enhancements that have... Wait a second. You're... Oh, okay. My bad. Sometimes you forget these conversations. I wish it was kind of like the how the sausage gets made comments, but then to be able to filter it back and say, let's just show me what we talked about, or more specifically, show me what I asked you about, so I can keep track in my brain what's going on. All right, it's updating the walkthrough. Cool. Taking our new instructions. All right, enhancements are complete. Walkthrough is reflected. Yahoo. All right, so it resolved. Let's see what happened here. Did we actually do that? I think I confused the system a little bit. We're going to have to... So, enhancement 8 and 9 can't go from planned to resolved without doing actual work. You're absolutely right. It never gets old, Claude. I'm kind of pushing the boundaries of this sprint, to be fair. You know, at some point we can't enhancement our way through the entire sprint, or probably shouldn't, but hey, we're just cooking here. All right, let's correct that. Undo. Yes. And then we'll get back to work here. Okay, so it's gonna... All right. Well, let's begin work on the... See if we get done in T-minus 16 minutes, Claude. I wonder, do we need this? I forget. Do you have to have target config for record pages? I guess, yeah, you do. It has to... So you would have to update this each time, you know. We're repurposing opportunity field chooser into field chooser now. That makes sense. It's nice that it gets the, hey, we're changing the semantics here a little bit, so I'm going to give you updated files. It'd be super confusing if it didn't. This shouldn't be too bad because, right, object API name is an accessible variable in the page, and that's what we're already passing. So hopefully everything downstream just kind of like rolls with the change. Except for maybe, it's probably currently querying for, it's currently querying for opportunity. So now it's going to query specifically for, well, not specifically, it's going to query for whatever it's given. A few more changes. I see. It also changed the Apex class name. That makes sense. See if it gets rid of the other stuff. Sometimes I sit and watch this and say, could I have just done this faster myself? I don't think so. I mean, I probably would fumble through it, but I would forget half of the things that are in here, and I'd be doing some very optimistic copy and or find and replace. I think it's looking for the Flexi page for the account, but it's not going to find one. Come on. So hopefully it's going to create us one. There we go. Let's create a custom one. Yeah, I had a feeling we're going to have a little bit of a time with a Flexi page. Yeah, there you go. Let's make it simpler, Claude. All right, deployment succeeded. So let's go look at an account. I wonder if the page isn't actually activated. Actually, wait, no, app builder, right? It had a really hard time activating the page before, so I'm just going to sneak in and do this for it. Now, it shouldn't render anything because I don't have a user persona record for that refers to the account object. I can probably fix that pretty quick. If I clone this, I'm going to wipe out the cache here. I'll add this to the account. I'm going to clear this out too. There we go. Powerful generic component. Let's see how we do. Heyo. No fields were selected for this persona. I guess that makes sense, right? Because as a sales manager, do we have that? Let's go read that persona. Oh, well, okay. I take it back. That's kind of weird. The persona itself, I would expect to see something from here, except we don't have it here. So maybe that's our problem. We'll have to see how these two interact going forward. Try that again. If I resuggest. Nope. Okay. Well, that's something to consider. There's probably a mishmash mix-up somewhere. We got it enabled, but we're just not getting any responses generated. So, cool. Well, so maybe next week we will get this up and running. We've got almost have multi-object support. We've got multiple personas. We've got caching. We didn't get a chance to talk about the platform cache versus our own sort of custom situation here. But I don't know. It's kind of rad. We made some progress today. We created and resolved a bunch of enhancements during this sprint. So yeah, I mean, not too shabby. I got to get a repo up for this in case anybody's curious about it. And close out our features. All right. Well, that's a good place to stop, I think. I don't want to start anything more in the next 6 minutes. But hey, if you stopped by, thanks for stopping by. If you're watching later, thanks for watching later. If you made it this far. Next week is not quite Dreamforce, so we'll do another show next Friday. And the Friday after that, I don't know. I might be strung out after a week of Dreamforce and just getting home on a plane. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. See you next time. Have a great weekend.